I often get asked, what should I do if I'm too slow for second gear, but going into first gear is going to be jerky? And I'm not talking about lifting the clutch up is going to be jerky, because that can be resolved with practice and skill. I'm talking about when you have a car with a jerky first gear. So you want to accelerate, you press the gas pedal as slowly and as carefully as you possibly can, but the car still lurches you back and accelerates too much. And when you want to slow down, you come off the gas pedal incredibly slowly, but the car still lurches you forwards and slows down more than you want it to. There are plenty of cars like that, less so these days, but I've owned many and I've driven even more. This is what I do when I'm in such a car. I'm about to turn into a road on the left. It's narrow and there's usually many parked cars around, meaning second gear is too fast. I can't see into the road enough at that speed to make sure it's safe before I pull in. So I'm going to have to go slower than second gear can handle, but I'm not going to use first gear. So it's just on the left where this person is walking after this grey car. Mirrors signal left, slowing down now, getting too slow for second. So I push the clutch down. That allows me to slow down more. I can now see into the road, I can see it's safe, and I can steer and use the gas and clutch to continue into my half. So what I did there was I coasted, but I managed to stay in second gear. Now, I know coasting is bad. Well, sometimes coasting is bad, but did coasting in that situation make me less safe? No, I don't think that made me less safe. In fact, I would argue that made me more safe. Coasting there allowed me to go slow enough to see into the road before I went into the road. That way, if anyone was coming out, I could stop and let them out first. If I went in faster, in second gear with the clutch up, if there was someone coming, I would have probably had to brake sharply and possibly had to reverse to let them go, which makes things less safe. And if you notice there, I actually went down to 2 miles per hour. So even if I went into first gear, I would have still had to coast, because in this car, first gear can't go slower than 4 miles per hour with the clutch up, and second gear can't go slower than 7 miles per hour with the clutch up. So there's not actually a great difference between the two, and that is usually the case for most cars. In most cars, in my experience, first gear bottoms out at about 4 to 5 miles an hour, and second gear bottoms out at about 6 to 9. Okay, they can be a bit different in some vehicles, but that's the majority of them. So if you need to coast in second, if you're going so slow for second that you need to coast, the chances are you're probably going to go slow enough to need to coast in first as well. You're going slow. This is where coasting is not an issue. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that first gear is designed for accelerating the car from a standstill or close, very, very close to a standstill, and it's also designed to give you more power for going uphill. It's not a cruising gear. It's not a gear you go into to control the car, to drive about in. Yeah, when you're learning to drive on your first lessons, you might be using first for quite some time because you're learning to stop and start. But once you get more experienced, first really is more of a get-going gear. I want to steer around this van, but second gear is too fast, so clutch down. That allows me to go slower. That allows me to make sure this brownie coloured Vauxhall isn't pulling out. And now I can go faster, just gas and lift the clutch to the bite point to carry on. Second gear is okay here. I don't feel like it's too fast, but I want to go through that archway, and second gear feels too fast for that. So clutch down, slow down a little bit. Oh, and now I feel comfortable. Gas and clutch up again to speed up. What about your driving test? What's your examiner going to do if they see you coasting? Are they sitting there with their tablet and the moment you start coasting, tick, fail, ha? No, they're not like that. They genuinely want you to pass. Coasting is not a problem when you're at very low speeds. That's why you have a clutch, because the engine can't spin slow enough to allow the car to go at those very low speeds. You have to push the clutch down to disconnect the engine from the wheels, so the wheels can slow down whilst the engine keeps running. If you don't, the engine stalls. Coasting is a problem usually at speed, or when you're pressing the clutch down as a reaction to something. Let's say you're driving along and you think, oh, pigeon in the road, clutch down. Or, oh, look, there's parked car up there, clutch down. Oh, person at the side of the road. If you keep pressing the clutch down as a reaction to any potential problem, well, that's a problem. You're probably going to fail because you're taking away engine braking and taking away the ability to accelerate every time you see a potential hazard. That's actually quite a common thing that new drivers do wrong, because they get used to having to press the clutch down to stop. So most people I teach at some point will start doing that, and I'll have to try and stop them from doing it. Another place where coasting can be a problem is at junctions. Let's say you're at a roundabout, a good fast flowing roundabout, you're approaching the junction, clutch down, you go to second gear and you think, oh, I can go. You go over the giveaway line and now you're in the roundabout, you're trying to do your gas, you're trying to do your clutch, you're taking too long, you've got no power, you're sitting duck in that roundabout or people coming round and you haven't prepared the car. Top tip for junctions, prepare the car first before you decide. And in my example I did prepare the car before I decided. I slowed down, I got the clutch down, I coasted a little bit, I checked to make sure it's safe, and then I added gas, lifted the clutch up, and then turned into the road. I didn't pull out into a busy flowing roundabout with the clutch down without any power. That's where coasting's bad. Now, as a driving instructor, I have gone down the wrong path several times in my career, and I've had pressure to do so also. Coasting is a good example. There is pressure when I was being trained to eliminate coasting as much as possible, to the point where it makes driving awkward and, if anything, less safe, because a driving instructor, me, I'm scared that if I give my pupils some advice that could cause them to fail, well, that's not going to look good on me, is it? So I'm very careful. I'm very careful with these videos as well. I don't want to give advice that's going to cause people to fail. So what can happen is when I'm less experienced, I can think, oh, well, how much coasting is too much coasting? And you end up just being silly with it. But with many years of experience, I've been teaching people to drive since 2009 and sitting on many, many tests and seeing how the test is done. The examiners aren't marking coasting when you're going slow. They mark coasting when it's bad, when it's really bad. That's when it's an issue, when it's at speed or when you need power and you don't have that power available. I'm going to do the same junction again, but this time I'm going to use first gear. And well, you can decide if you think first gear looks safer or less safe or the same as second gear. So, centre left mirror, left signal, taking this road on the left, one less car this time, so slightly better visibility. Clutch down so it doesn't stall. I'll get first gear, have a look into the road. Yep, that looks clear. And gas and lift clutch to carry on. And then up to second gear. There is a slight disadvantage of using second gear instead of first gear at very low speeds, say 2, 3 or 4 miles per hour. Second gear will cause slightly more clutch wear, but it's small, marginal. If you're at a standstill, I recommend first, unless you're downhill, in which case second's probably easier. There is a point I want to make though. This video is not trying to discourage you from using first gear. I'm not saying you should use second gear and not first gear, not at all. If you're using first, it's giving you the power you need, it's smooth, you're happy, great, continue doing that. All I'm trying to do is provide an alternative for someone who has a car where first gear is particularly awkward to engage or just generally difficult to use. I'm saying you can actually often use second gear instead of first. Here is a bad example of coasting. I'm going to go left first exit at the roundabout. So centre left mirror, left signal, slowing down now. Starting to get a bit too slow for the gear, so clutch down. Is it safe to go? Yes, after this truck. So I've gone over the line, now I'm getting my gear, now I'm getting my gas in the clutch, and now I'm continuing again after the give way line. You see I coasted across that give way line there without power. Before you let the car go over the line, you should already have prepared the car so you have the ability to accelerate. You shouldn't be a sitting duck in the middle of a junction. I'll do it again here. So I'm going ahead, second exit, I'm slowing down, getting a bit low for the gear, clutch down, making my decision, yep, I can go. So off the brake, changing the gear, gas, lift the clutch up, and now I have power to go. That's too late. At the moment I'm in Tesco car park, I'm in second gear and I don't need a coast because I'm fast enough. Second gear can go this slow. That blue car just pulled out in front of the Mini, hence the horn. I still don't need the clutch down because the car is handling it. I only coast if I need to go slower than second gear can handle, and that's my recommendation for you. If you're fast enough that you can have the clutch up in second gear, try not to coast, keep it up. But if you have to go slower than that, and usually it's around 10 miles an hour, in this car it's 7 miles an hour, like here I need to go slower, now I'm coasting first gear because I am coming to basically a standstill here, looks like no one's coming, and then I'll go. And I do use first gear quite a lot in this car because it's fairly easy to select and it's easy to control, it's smooth. But if I'm in a car where it's awkward, well, I use second as much as I can. So this video is trying to answer a question I often get, and that question is, if I'm in second gear and I go too slow for second, do I have to go to first, or can I just push the clutch down, go slow for a little bit and then carry on? Or would that be coasting? Would I fail my test for coasting? Well, if you do it well, you do it safely and you're not breaking the law, then you're not going to fail your test. As long as what you do is safe, you're in control, it's fine. You're not coasting in a dangerous way. If you think the video is helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, say a family member or a friend, so that you can get some extra practice, well, Collingwood are there for you because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy. I wish this insurance existed when I was learning to drive. It might have done, but I didn't know about it. Via the link at the moment, it's up to 35% off and a £20 Amazon gift card. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out the link to confused.com because you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers to compare who's cheapest, and you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like so you can compare how much it costs to insure different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio.